It's May 17th. This is Corbin's Coasters and More in the Loop, and I am here live at SeaWorld. What's the significance of this? SeaWorld and Busch Gardens just announced that I can actually do this for the first time in over a year. I can actually come outside, walk around, film, eat whatever I want with no mask. So join me in the studio for more news and question and answers right after this. As you can see, things are finally improving in the world of theme parks, at least. So, like I said, be sure to check out the Velocicoaster. But this week is also going to be great because it has some of the best news so far this year. Most of it is COVID related, and I've touched on some of it in the past few videos. But here's a breakdown on the new COVID-19 regulations at theme parks. Now remember, this is being filmed on May 17th. Any of this could literally change by tomorrow. I'll let you know if any corrections need to be made by next week's In the Loop. I'll start in Universal Orlando, where they've modified to 3 feet of social distancing in the queues and throughout the park. And while masks are still required indoors and required to get in the park and inside of a queue, you no longer have to wear a mask when you're walking around the park. This makes it possible to eat or drink while walking again, and film while talking, and just in general not having to find a you rest zone every time you have to demask. Universal has also started opening some of the single rider lines, including Velocicoaster, Rip Ride Rocket, The Mummy, Men in Black. Except for single rider lines, Disney World is very similar and still requires masks up until being served at the restaurants, but pretty much everything else is identical to Universal's rules. SeaWorld and Busch Gardens Tampa have gone one step farther and no longer require masks in any situations as long as you claim to have been fully vaccinated. But due to Florida state law, they are not allowed to ask you for proof of vaccination. Guests are asked to respectfully comply. So basically, if you say you've been vaccinated, you can get anywhere in the park without masks. I will be interested to see how many times in one visit you'll be asked if you've been vaccinated. Also, as mentioned before, the Ohio parks, Cedar Point and Kings Island, are no longer requiring masks while outdoors, including in queues, and they are officially open. As far as I can find, all other parks still require masks, but I'll let you know when I know. Now to answer questions. KJ Horton on YouTube asks if I have been on Maverick at Cedar Point and if I can compare it to Velocicoaster. Yes, I have been on Maverick, but I'm going to Cedar Point later this week, as well as Kings Island. So in the coming weeks, you'll see some non-Florida parks finally. And yes, I do plan to compare these two Intamin multi-launch coasters, as there are a lot of similarities. I'm also going to finally get on Steel Vengeance for the first time, so expect a coaster face-off with Velocicoaster there as well. Super excited for the Ohio trip. Edwin Santana asks on Quora, is Disneyland and Universal in California open for everyone in the world or just for Cali residents? If so, till when? Good question, Edwin. So currently, both Disneyland and Universal in California are allowing all California residents with reservations, and most attractions are open, except for those not allowed by current California mandates. They do still have the fullest COVID protocols, unlike the Florida locations. Additionally, Universal Hollywood is allowing out-of-state visitors with reservations who are fully vaccinated with proof, which is allowed by the state of California. Hopefully, Disney starts allowing more soon, but they have not announced yet if they plan on doing that. Shreya Mehta asks on Quora, how far is it from Orlando to Cape Canaveral? I know this one isn't truly theme park related, but a lot of people do like to visit the beach for a day or two when visiting Orlando. Cape Canaveral and Daytona Beach are both about 60 miles away from downtown Orlando, or the Universal area, and a little farther from Disney World. Be sure to plan about 2 hours including traffic, especially if it's a weekend or if you're leaving early and coming back late, which you probably are. It's an added cost, but it may be worth it to you to just add a hotel at the beach so that you don't have to drive so far all in one day and you get 2 mornings on the beach. Even living here, I often get a hotel on Daytona Beach because they're usually cheap anyway. Do know that right now car rentals are way more expensive than they generally are. $300 to $500 a day for an economy car due to the lack of inventory. And Ubers to the beach are going to be $100 to $300 each way, depending on surge rates. Also, just know that there are airports in both Melbourne and Daytona Beach, so look into those if you're flying to the Orlando area and you want to go to the beach. Here's an interesting one that you can disagree with me on if you like. Let me know in the comments if you do agree or don't. Brent Hobbs asks on Quora, will Disney ever open another theme park resort somewhere else in America? After thinking about it for a while, I'd have to say probably not, unless it's way in the future and Texas grows to an astronomical population, which is possible. But here's why I don't think Disney needs another American resort. First, as shown by all Disney resorts worldwide, Disney is only going to open somewhere they can operate year-round with limited disruption, which is why California and Orlando are fairly perfect. They also need to be largely unaffected by natural disasters. Yes, California has earthquakes and Florida has hurricanes, but their specific locations have never been extremely damaged. Disney would also, of course, prefer somewhere inexpensive to build, which both Orlando and Anaheim were at the time of initial purchase. They were both built on orange grove land. So in the United States, 80% of the country is taken off immediately when thinking about freezing cold weather for part of the year. Then anywhere directly on the Atlantic or Gulf Coast has to be taken out of consideration too due to hurricanes. So you can say goodbye to ever getting a chance in the population center of Houston or the discount swamplands of Alabama and Mississippi. Phoenix, Vegas, NorCal, and the Carolinas are also out because of relatively close proximity to current resorts. Oklahoma and Arkansas don't have horrible winters, but they do have horrible tornadoes. And not to mention the low median income in that part of country probably takes them out anyway. Realistically, I think there are two places that could realistically grab a Disney or a similar style resort at some point in the next 50 to 100 years. And those are the Texas Triangle, somewhere between Dallas, San Antonio, and Austin, or Nashville, Tennessee. That area of Texas already has 3 major theme parks and a huge water park though, so I guess my best guess would actually be in the area outside of Nashville, a growing population metro area, currently with a population of about 2 million people, and a higher than average income. They're in easy driving distance to most of the Midwest and already have a major airport, and that can be expanded if needed, but it is already there. But then there's the fact that when you go to Disney, there are plenty of people visiting from the Midwest all the time, and their pool of interest, and they would be siphoning from that pool of interest that already exists. Unlike a regional park chain like Six Flags or Cedar Fair, a lot of tourists are already fully willing to travel across the country or world for the sole purpose of visiting Orlando or Anaheim's theme park. So I think it's much more likely that we'll see a 3rd gate in Anaheim or even a 5th gate in Orlando rather than an entirely new resort, much like Universal was doing with Epic Universe in Orlando. I love these questions that make me research or think, so thanks for sending these in. I'll make sure to attach the video to all of these asking the Quora questions, and I'll leave a link so you can follow me on Quora as well, where you can request answers from me, which sometimes I write and sometimes now I include them here. Now that you're in the loop, be sure to like and subscribe. Comment with any questions that you want answered on another video, and please be sure to share with any theme park fans or even anyone who loves to travel. I really appreciate you watching Corbin's Coasters and More.